The shuttle shook as it approached the old space station. Taeyang gripped the controls with steady hands, while his daughter Jiwoo pressed her face against the window. She wanted to see their new home, even though everyone said it was garbage. "Looks worse than the pictures," Jiwoo said quietly. Taeyang glanced at the station through the front window. She was right. Station Harmony 7 looked like it might fall apart at any moment. Parts of the metal hull were brown with rust. Some sections had holes covered with old repair patches. The solar panels hung at odd angles, many of them broken or missing completely. "Your uncle lived here for 20 years, Taeyang said. "If it was good enough for him, it's good enough for us." Jiwoo didn't answer. She knew her father was trying to stay positive, but this was hard. Just 3 months ago, they lived in a nice apartment on Earth. Taeyang had a good pension from his military service. Jiwoo went to a real school with real friends. Then Uncle Dongmin died and everything changed. The lawyer's message had been short. Dongmin left them Station Harmony 7. No money, no ships, just the station. At first, Taeyang thought it might be valuable. Space stations could be worth millions. But when he researched it, his hopes died quickly. Harmony 7 was old, built over 200 years ago. It was so far from major trade routes that no one wanted it. The maintenance costs were huge. Selling it wouldn't even cover the debts attached to it, but Taeyang had no other choice. His pension was cut due to new government regulations. Their apartment rent tripled. Earth was becoming too expensive for regular people, so he made a decision. They would move to the station and try to make it work somehow. The docking procedure took longer than it should. The station's computer was slow and kept giving error messages. Finally, their shuttle connected with a loud clang that made Jiwoo jump. "Stay close," Taeyang said as he opened the shuttle door. The station's air smelled stale and metallic. The lights flickered on and off. As they walked through the corridors, their boots echoed on the metal floor. Everything looked old and tired. Paint peeled from the walls. Some doors wouldn't open. Others wouldn't close. They found the main living quarters after 20 minutes of searching. The apartment was small but had 2 bedrooms, a bathroom, and a kitchen area. Dust covered everything, but the air was breathable, and the temperature was okay. "I'll start cleaning," Jiwoo said, putting down her bag. While they cleaned, Taeyang's communication device buzzed constantly. Messages from old military friends, some offering sympathy, others making jokes. A few people from their old neighborhood sent messages too. Most of them were asking if the rumors were true. Did they really move to that worthless station? The worst messages came through the public station network. Other people living on nearby stations or ships heard about the new owners of Harmony 7. They thought it was funny. "Did you hear? Some fool actually moved to that junk pile. That old station should have been scrapped decades ago. I give them 3 months before they abandon it." Jiwoo saw these messages on her tablet. Her face turned red, but she said nothing. She just cleaned harder. That evening, they ate a simple meal of reheated rations. The kitchen equipment barely worked. The food recycler made strange noises. But they ate together at a small table, trying to feel normal. "School starts tomorrow," Taeyang reminded her. "Virtual classes through the network." Jiwoo nodded. She would attend school through video connection since no school existed nearby. She worried about what the other students would say. Would they mock her too? Her worries came true the next day. During the morning session, another student asked where she lived. When Jiwoo said Station Harmony 7, the whole class went quiet. Then someone laughed. Then everyone laughed. "That's the garbage station," a boy said. "My dad says it's worthless. Why would anyone live there?" A girl added. Even the teacher looked uncomfortable. "That's enough, class. Everyone deserves respect regardless of where they live." But the damage was done. During breaks, Jiwoo heard whispers. Some students sent her mocking messages. By the end of the day, she felt miserable. Taeyang found her crying in her room that evening. He sat beside her on the bed and put his arm around her shoulders. "They laughed at me," Jiwoo said. "Everyone thinks we're stupid for living here." "People always laugh at what they don't understand," Taeyang said gently. "Do you know what I learned in the military? The opinions of others don't matter. Only your actions matter. Only your character matters. But what if they're right? What if this place really is worthless?" Taeyang was quiet for a moment. "Your uncle Dongmin spent half his life here. He was one of the smartest people I ever knew. He wouldn't have stayed if there wasn't a reason. What reason? I don't know yet. But we'll find out." Over the next few days, they explored more of the station. Most areas were in bad condition. The hydroponics bay where food should grow was completely dead. The recreation areas were empty and dark. Many sections were sealed off completely, with warning signs saying the areas were unsafe. But some things worked. The water recycling system functioned, though it made horrible sounds. The power generator kept running, giving them electricity. The communication array let them connect to the wider galaxy. Tae-Yang spent his days doing repairs. He fixed lights, patched holes, and tried to get old equipment working again. He discovered that his military engineering training was very useful. Many of the station's systems were similar to equipment he used in the service. Ji-woo helped when she could. She also started exploring on her own during free time. The station was bigger than she thought, with many levels and hundreds of rooms. Most were empty or filled with old junk, but she found it interesting anyway. One afternoon, while digging through a storage room, she found a box marked with her uncle's name. Inside were personal items, old photos, medals from his own military service, and a data pad. Ji-woo turned on the data pad. It took a moment to boot up. The screen showed a list of files. Most were normal things like maintenance logs and supply orders, but one folder caught her attention. It was labeled Deep Vault Project. She opened it and found dozens of video logs, all recorded by Uncle Dongmin. In the first video, he looked younger, maybe 40 years old. Personal log day 1, Dongmin said on the screen. I've been on this station for 2 weeks now. Something's wrong here. The official records say Harmony 7 was built 200 years ago as a research station, but I've found evidence that parts of it are much older, maybe 300 years, maybe more. I need to investigate. Ji-woo's heart beat faster. She clicked on more videos. In each one, Uncle Dongmin talked about his research. He found strange markings on walls in sealed sections. He discovered doors that didn't match the station's official layout. He talked about what humanity left behind and the truth they don't want us to know. In the last video, recorded just 2 months before his death, Dongmin looked tired and sick. But his eyes were bright with excitement. I found it, he said. The deep vault. It's real. The coordinates are in the encrypted file. Tae-Yang, if you're watching this, you need to see what's down there. It changes everything. Everything we were told about humanity's history in space is a lie. They've been hiding. The video cut off suddenly. Ji-woo stared at the screen. Her hands trembled slightly. She wanted to tell her father immediately, but something made her hesitate. The way Uncle Dongmin spoke, the fear and excitement in his voice, it felt dangerous. That night at dinner, she couldn't help herself. Dad, do you think Uncle Dongmin was crazy? Tae-Yang looked up from his food. Why do you ask? People said he was strange, that he believed in conspiracy theories. Her father was quiet for a long time. Your uncle was different. He asked questions that made people uncomfortable. But crazy? No, I don't think so. He was one of the most rational people I knew. Ji-woo nodded slowly. She decided to tell him about the videos. But before she could speak, an alarm sounded through the station. Someone was requesting permission to dock. Tae-Yang checked the communication panel. His expression became guarded. It's a corporate ship, Stellar Mining Corporation. They went to the docking bay together. A large, expensive shuttle connected to their station. 3 people in business suits stepped out. 2 men and 1 woman, all human, all looking important and confident. The woman in front smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. Mr. Tae-Yang? I'm Director Ha-Yoon from Stellar Mining Corporation. We'd like to discuss your station. I'm listening, Tae-Yang said carefully. We're interested in purchasing Harmony 7. We'll pay you a fair price for the scrap value, enough money for you and your daughter to live comfortably on Earth for several years. The station isn't for sale. Director Ha-Yoon's smile became tighter. Mr. Tae-Yang, please be reasonable. This station is falling apart. You have no income, no way to maintain it properly. Our offer is generous. I said no. The director's smile vanished completely. Think about your daughter. Is this really the life you want for her? Living on a worthless piece of junk that everyone mocks? Tae-Yang stepped forward. Even though he was retired, he still had the bearing of a soldier. My daughter and I will be fine. Thank you for your visit. Please leave now. The 3 corporate representatives exchanged looks. Something passed between them, something that made Ji-woo nervous. For 3 days, Ji-woo worked on decrypting Uncle Dongmin's files. The encryption was military grade, but her uncle had left clues in his video logs, small hints about passwords and keys. She worked late into the night while her father repaired the station's life support systems. The station groaned and creaked around them constantly. Sometimes Jiwoo heard sounds that scared her, like metal bending or air hissing through cracks. But Taeyang assured her the structure was stable. It just complained a lot because it was old. On the third night, Jiwoo finally broke through the encryption. A map appeared on her screen. It showed the station's layout, but with extra sections that didn't appear on any official plans. Deep in the lower decks, below the cargo bays, a large area was marked in red. A single word labeled it Vault. "Dad, I found it," she called out. Taeyang came to her room still holding a wrench. His hands were dirty with grease. He looked at the screen and his eyes widened. That area should be solid hull. There shouldn't be anything there. But Uncle Dongmin's map shows rooms. Big ones. They studied the map together. According to the coordinates, the vault entrance was in Cargo Bay 7, behind a sealed bulkhead that was marked as damaged and unsafe. No wonder no one had found it before. Everyone avoided that section. "We need to go there," Jiwoo said. "Not yet. We need to prepare first. If that area really has been sealed for decades, it might not have air. It might not be safe." Over the next 2 days, Taeyang gathered equipment. He found 2 old EVA suits in a storage locker. They were ancient models, probably 50 years old, but they still held pressure when he tested them. He charged their oxygen tanks and checked every seal carefully. They also gathered tools, cutting torches, pry bars, and portable lights. Taeyang brought his old military scanner, which could detect radiation and toxic gases. He wasn't taking any chances with his daughter's safety. On the morning they planned to explore, Jiwoo barely ate breakfast. She was too nervous and excited. Her father noticed but said nothing. He understood. This was the biggest adventure of her young life. They suited up in the airlock near Cargo Bay 7. The EVA suits were bulky and uncomfortable. Jiwoo felt like she was wearing a balloon. But when the helmet sealed with a hiss and she heard her own breathing echo inside, she felt a thrill of excitement. "Radio check." Taeyang's voice came through her helmet speaker. "I hear you, Dad. Stay close to me. Don't touch anything without asking first. Understand?" "Yes, sir." They entered Cargo Bay 7 through the main door. The bay was enormous and completely empty. Their helmet lights cut through the darkness, showing walls covered in old markings and stains. At the far end, they found the sealed bulkhead Uncle Dongmin had mentioned. The metal door was heavy and marked with warning symbols. "Danger, structural damage, do not open." Someone had welded it shut decades ago. Taeyang pulled out the cutting torch. "This will take a while. Stay behind me." The torch flared to life with a bright blue flame. Slowly, carefully, Taeyang cut through the old welds. Sparks flew in the darkness. Jiwoo watched, her heart pounding. After 20 minutes, the door was free. Taeyang turned off the torch and pulled out a pry bar. He wedged it into the door's edge and pushed. The door groaned but didn't move. "Help me," he said. Together, they pushed on the pry bar. Jiwoo used all her strength. Slowly, with a screech of metal on metal, the door began to open. A gap appeared, then grew wider. Finally, the door swung open completely. Beyond was a corridor. Their lights showed walls that were different from the rest of the station. The metal was darker, older. Strange patterns were etched into the surfaces, designs that looked almost decorative but didn't match any style Jiwoo had seen before. "Dad, look at the walls." Taeyang examined them closely. "This metal is different, much older than the station's official construction date." "Your uncle was right." They moved forward slowly. The corridor stretched ahead for 50 meters before reaching another door. This one wasn't sealed. It stood open, waiting. The air in this section was still good. Taeyang's scanner showed normal oxygen levels and no dangerous gases. But they kept their suits on anyway, just to be safe. Beyond the second door, the corridor branched into multiple passages. Some went up, some down. The map on Jiwoo's tablet showed they needed to go down 2 levels. They found a shaft with a ladder. The rungs were old but solid. Taeyang went first, testing each step. Jiwoo followed, trying not to look down into the darkness below. The ladder seemed to go on forever. Down and down into the station's depths. Finally, they reached the bottom. Another corridor stretched before them, but this one was different. The walls here had writing on them. "Dad, can you read this?" Jiwoo asked, pointing her light at the strange symbols. Taeyang studied the writing carefully. "No, it's not any language I know. But look, it's definitely human. The style, the way the letters are formed. This was made by humans, not aliens." They took pictures of the writing and moved on. The corridor led to a large chamber.
In the center of the chamber stood an enormous door, bigger than any they'd seen before.
It was made of some dark metal that seemed to absorb light. The surface was completely smooth except for a panel in the center. "This must be it," Jiwoo whispered. They approached the door slowly. The panel in the center glowed softly as they got close. It showed a handprint outline and what looked like a scanner. "Biometric lock," Taeyang said. "It's reading our presence. Will it open for us?" "I don't know. These locks usually have authorized users programmed into them. If your uncle was right and this place is connected to old Earth military projects, then maybe—" He trailed off, staring at the panel. "Maybe what?" "Military biometric systems often use family genetics. If your uncle could access it and he was my brother, then maybe I can too." Taeyang removed his glove carefully, making sure his suit's integrity would hold. He placed his bare hand on the panel. For a long moment, nothing happened. Jiwoo held her breath. Then the panel flashed bright blue. A computerized voice spoke, startling them both. "DNA verified. Access granted. Welcome authorized personnel." The massive door began to open. It moved slowly, smoothly, without a sound. As it opened, lights activated inside automatically. Bright white lights that made Jiwoo squint after so long in darkness. What lay beyond made them both freeze in shock. The vault was huge, easily the size of 3 cargo bays. And it was full. Rows and rows of equipment, machines, and computers filled the space. Everything looked old but well preserved. At the far end stood something that made Taeyang gasp. "That's impossible," he whispered. Jiwoo stared at the machine. She didn't understand what it was, but it looked important. It was roughly cylindrical, about 5 meters tall and 3 meters wide, covered in panels and displays. Strange coils wrapped around it and tubes connected to various parts. "What is it, Dad?" Taeyang moved forward slowly like a man in a dream. He approached the machine and read the labels on its side. His face went pale. "It's an FTL drive. A faster-than-light engine, but it's the wrong design." "What do you mean, wrong?"
"All FTL drives use alien technology."
"The aliens invented jump gates 200 years ago, and humanity bought the technology from them. Every ship uses the same basic design. But this," he pointed at the machine, "this is completely different. It's human engineering. Human design. And according to this date stamp, it was built 300 years ago." Jiwoo felt dizzy. That's before first contact with aliens. That's before humans were supposed to have FTL travel. Exactly. They explored further into the vault. Jiwoo found computer terminals and turned one on. It booted up immediately, the system still working perfectly after all these years. A menu appeared with thousands of files. She opened a random file and started reading. Her eyes got wider and wider as she understood what she was seeing. "Dad, these are research files. Plans for space stations, ships, and FTL technology. All human designs. All dated before official first contact." Taeyang came to read over her shoulder. Together they went through file after file. The story they told was incredible and terrifying. Humanity had developed space travel much earlier than official history said. Secret government programs had built FTL drives without alien help. They had established hidden stations throughout the solar system and beyond. Humans were exploring the galaxy before they ever met other species. But then something happened. The files were vague about details, but the message was clear. When humanity finally made contact with alien civilizations, they discovered a problem. The aliens controlled all major space routes through their jump gate network. This network was expensive to use, and the aliens made huge profits from it. If humanity revealed their own FTL technology, it would threaten this system. The aliens saw independent FTL as dangerous. They feared human expansion without their control, so a deal was made. Human governments agreed to suppress their own technology. They would pretend to adopt alien FTL and use the jump gate network like everyone else. In return, humanity was allowed to join the galactic community peacefully, without conflict. The secret stations were sealed. The research was hidden. Anyone who knew the truth was silenced through money or threats. Official history was rewritten to say humanity developed space travel with alien help. But some people kept the secret alive. They maintained hidden stations like Harmony 7, waiting for the day when the truth could be revealed. Uncle Dongmin knew. Jiwoo, the footsteps outside grew louder. Through the door's small window, Taeyang saw shadows moving in the corridor. At least 6 people, maybe more. They wore combat armor and carried weapons. These weren't simple corporate security guards. These were professional soldiers. Dad, the door won't hold them long, Jiwoo whispered. Taeyang knew she was right. The door was designed to seal against air leaks, not against determined attackers with cutting tools. He could already hear the whine of a plasma torch starting up. The communication array is 3 sections away, he said, thinking fast. But there's another option. Your tablet. Can you access the station's main computer from here? Jiwoo pulled out her tablet and tried. Her fingers flew across the screen. Yes, I can access it. But the communication system is locked. I need administrator codes. Use your uncle's codes, the ones from the vault files. She typed rapidly, entering the codes they'd found in Dongmin's research. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the screen flashed green. I'm in. I have full control. Good. Start copying everything from the vault database. Every file, every image, every piece of data. Then prepare to broadcast it. Where should I send it? Taeyang thought about this. They needed to reach as many people as possible and not just humans. The aliens needed to know too. Send it everywhere. Public networks, government channels, news services, social media, everything. Scatter it across the galaxy so they can't delete it all. Outside, the plasma torch cut through the door lock. Smoke began to seep into their room. The corporate soldiers would be inside within minutes. Jiwoo's hands trembled as she worked, but she didn't stop. The tablet showed file after file copying to the broadcast queue. Thousands of files, millions of pages of data, the evidence of humanity's hidden history. How long? Taeyang asked. 2 more minutes for the copy, then 10 seconds to broadcast. We don't have 2 minutes. The door burst open with a bang. 3 soldiers rushed in, weapons raised. Behind them came Director Hyun, her face cold and angry. Step away from the computer, she ordered. Now. Taeyang moved to stand between the soldiers and his daughter. You have no authority here. This is my station. Your station is now under corporate control. You accessed restricted military assets. That's a crime. Restricted by who? A conspiracy that's been lying to humanity for hundreds of years. Hyun's expression didn't change. You don't understand what you're dealing with. That technology down there is dangerous. In the wrong hands, it could destabilize the entire galactic order. You mean it could threaten corporate profits? Taeyang shot back. If humans don't need alien jump gates anymore, your companies lose their monopoly on space travel. 1 more step and I'll shoot, one of the soldiers said, pointing his weapon at Taeyang's chest. Jiwoo kept working behind her father, her eyes on the tablet screen. The progress bar showed 90% complete. She just needed a little more time. Think about your daughter, Hyun said, her voice softer now. She has her whole life ahead of her. Don't make this harder than it needs to be. Give us the data and we'll let you both go. We'll even pay you well for your cooperation. Like you paid my brother? Taeyang asked. He's dead because he knew too much. You killed him. Hyun actually looked surprised. Your brother died of natural causes. Heart failure. In a man with no history of heart problems? Right after he found the vault? That's very convenient. The progress bar hit 100%. Jiwoo looked up and caught her father's eye. She nodded slightly. Everything was ready. Taeyang saw her signal. He made his decision. You want the data? Fine, take it. But first I have questions. I deserve to know why. Why hide this from humanity? What was so dangerous about human independence? Hyun glanced at the soldiers, then back at Taeyang. She seemed to think it over. Maybe she believed that answering his questions would buy time for her to secure the situation. Maybe she didn't realize how smart his daughter was with computers. Sit down, Hyun said. I'll tell you the truth, all of it. Then you'll understand why we had to do this. Taeyang sat slowly. Jiwoo remained standing, the tablet hidden behind her back. Her finger hovered over the broadcast button. Hyun pulled up a chair and sat across from him. The soldiers lowered their weapons slightly, but stayed alert. 250 years ago, Hyun began, humanity developed faster than light travel independently. It was a great achievement. Scientists thought it would usher in a golden age of exploration, but they were wrong. Why? Taeyang asked. Because we weren't alone. We sent out our first FTL ships, and within a year, we made contact with aliens. Dozens of species, all part of a massive galactic civilization. And they were terrified of us and terrified. Why would they fear humans? Because of how fast we developed. Most alien species took thousands of years to reach spaceflight. They evolved slowly, carefully. But humans? We went from the first airplane to FTL travel in just 300 years. The aliens saw us as dangerous, aggressive, expansionist. Hyun leaned forward, her voice intense. There were serious discussions among the alien governments about quarantining Earth. Some wanted to bomb us back to the Stone Age before we could spread. We were that close to extinction. Jiwoo listened while pretending to stare at the floor, but she was taking in every word. So what happened? Taeyang asked. Smart people on both sides made a deal. Humanity would suppress our independent FTL technology. We would use the alien jump gates instead, making us dependent on their infrastructure. In return, we were allowed to join the galactic community peacefully. We gained access to trade, technology, and dozens of new worlds to colonize Mirror. But at what cost? We gave up our freedom. We gave up nothing. Think about it. With the jump gates, humans spread to 1,000 worlds in just 200 years. We're one of the most successful species in the galaxy now. If we'd kept our independent FTL, we would have been destroyed. Or maybe we would have been free, Taeyang said quietly. Freedom isn't worth anything if you're dead. The deal saved humanity, and for 200 years it's kept the peace. But if that technology gets out now, everything falls apart. The aliens still fear us. If they see humans building independent FTL drives again, they'll think we're preparing for war. Are they right? Taeyang asked. Would we go to war? I don't know. But I do know that some humans would try to use that technology to break away from the galactic community. Extremist groups, radical colonists, even some corporations. It would cause chaos, maybe even real war. Taeyang sat back processing this. Part of him understood Haoen's point. The galaxy was complicated. Maybe the conspiracy had started with good intentions, trying to protect humanity. But another part of him was angry. Good intentions or not, lying to billions of people for hundreds of years was wrong. Humans deserve to know their own history. They deserve to make their own choices even if those choices were dangerous. So what happens now? He asked. You give us the data. We seal the vault again, and we all go back to our lives. No one else needs to know. And if we refuse? Haoen's face hardened. Then we take the data by force, and you and your daughter disappear. I'm sorry, but that's how it has to be. The secret is too important. Taeyang looked at his daughter. She looked back at him with trust in her eyes. She believed in him. She believed he would do the right thing. He made his choice. I understand, he said to Haoen. You're probably right. The secret should stay hidden. Humanity isn't ready for this truth. Haoen relaxed slightly. I'm glad you're being reasonable. Where's the data? On my daughter's tablet. Jiwoo, give it to them. Jiwoo stepped forward, holding out the tablet. As Haoen reached for it, Jiwoo's thumb pressed the broadcast button. The tablet's screen flashed. A progress bar appeared, filling rapidly. Before anyone could react, the broadcast was sent. Thousands of data packets shot out from Station Harmony 7's communication array. They spread across the galactic network like a wave. Public stations, government servers, news networks, social media platforms, everything. Within seconds, the information was everywhere. Haoen's face went pale as she grabbed the tablet and saw what happened. No. What have you done? We told the truth, Taeyang said simply. One of the soldiers raised his weapon again, but Haoen stopped him with a gesture. She stood there staring at the tablet screen as alerts began flooding in. Her hands shook slightly. You've killed us all, she whispered. You don't understand what you've done. Maybe, or maybe humanity needed to know. We're not children anymore. We can handle the truth. Across the galaxy, people were reading the files. Historians, scientists, politicians, ordinary citizens. They saw the evidence of ancient human space stations. They read about the secret FTL technology. They learned how their own governments and corporations had lied to them for generations. On human worlds, the reaction was immediate and explosive. Shock, anger, disbelief. Some called it fake news. But the evidence was overwhelming. Technical specifications, video logs, historical documents, all of it verified and cross-referenced. The alien governments reacted too. Emergency sessions were called. Ambassadors demanded explanations. Some aliens were angry at being deceived. Others were frightened, just like Haoen warned. Old fears about human expansion resurfaced. But something unexpected. The first 24 hours after the broadcast were chaos. Taeyang and Jiwoo barely slept, watching the galaxy react to their revelation. Messages flooded their communication system. Thousands of them. Some supportive, some threatening. Most just confused and looking for answers. By the second day, the situation grew more dangerous. The ships surrounding Station Harmony 7 multiplied. Now there were dozens of them. from different governments, corporations, and independent groups. They all claimed they had a right to the station and its secrets. "Dad, another ship just docked," Jiwoo said, monitoring the sensors. "That's the 15th one today, and they're not all friendly." Taeyang checked the identification codes. This new ship was from Earth's military, the same military he'd served in for 20 years. Part of him was relieved. Maybe they'd come to protect him and Jiwoo, but when he opened the communication channel, his relief faded. "Station Harmony 7. This is Commander Byung-ho of the Earth Defense Force. We're here to secure the vault and its contents for the protection of humanity. Please grant us access immediately." Taeyang recognized that tone. It wasn't a request. It was an order. "Commander, the vault is staying sealed until we figure out what to do with it," Taeyang responded. "That's not your decision to make. You're a retired soldier, not a government official. Stand down and let us do our job. My job right now is protecting my daughter and making sure that technology doesn't fall into the wrong hands." There was a long pause. Then the commander's voice came back, harder now. "Let me be clear. If you don't cooperate, we will take the station by force. We have the authority and the firepower. Don't make this difficult." The communication cut off before Taeyang could respond. Jiwoo looked scared. "They'll attack us? Our own government?" "Not attack. They'll just board the station and take control. They probably won't hurt us." But Taeyang's voice didn't sound certain. More ships arrived throughout the day, corporate vessels with armed security teams, ships from other human colonies, each claiming they had a right to the technology. Even a few alien ships showed up, their intentions unclear. Some ships tried to dock without permission. Taeyang had to activate the station's old defense systems to keep them away. He was surprised when the weapons actually worked. Ancient laser turrets powered up and fired warning shots. No one was hurt, but the message was clear. Station Harmony 7 would defend itself. By the third day, the situation reached a breaking point. An armed ship from Stellar Mining Corporation tried to force their way through the docking bay doors. Taeyang fired the defense lasers, not at the ship itself, but at the docking mechanism. The explosion damaged both the ship and the station. That's when things got serious. The military commander declared that Taeyang was now a threat to public safety. Earth's government issued a warrant for his arrest. Several ships prepared to launch an assault on the station. But then something unexpected happened. A small fleet of independent ships arrived. Not government or corporate vessels, but private ships owned by colonists, traders, and free spacers. They positioned themselves between Station Harmony 7 and the military ships. The lead ships, Captain sent a message on an open channel that everyone could hear. "This is Captain Haewon of the free merchant ship Star Dancer. We're here to protect Station Harmony 7. Anyone who tries to attack it will have to go through us first." "This is a military operation," Commander Byung-ho responded. "You have no authority here. Leave immediately or be arrested." "You have no authority over free ships in neutral space," Captain Haewon shot back. "And this station is neutral territory. Its owner has every right to defend it." More civilian ships joined the blockade. Within hours, dozens of them surrounded the station, forming a protective barrier. They weren't military ships. Most weren't even armed, but there were enough of them to make attacking difficult. Taeyang watched this happen with amazement. "Why are they doing this? They don't even know us." Jiwoo was reading messages on her tablet. "Because you've become a symbol, Dad. People see you as someone fighting for human freedom, for the right to control our own destiny." It was true. Across the galaxy, public opinion was shifting. Many humans were angry about the centuries of lies. They saw the Vault's technology as belonging to all humanity, not just governments and corporations. The story of a father and daughter defending their station against powerful forces resonated with millions of people. Social media exploded with support. Protests erupted on dozens of worlds. People demanded that the technology be shared freely, not controlled by the same institutions that had hidden it for so long. But not everyone was supportive. Some humans believed Taeyang was being reckless. They feared the consequences of destabilizing the galactic order. They worried about war with the aliens, and the aliens themselves were divided. Some alien governments sent diplomatic messages asking for calm and negotiation. Others issued threats, warning humanity not to pursue independent FTL technology. One alien species, the Velkari, sent a particularly hostile message. They claimed that human expansion using unrestricted FTL would threaten their territory. They demanded the vault be destroyed, and all the technology lost forever. Taiyang read this message with concern. The Velkari were a powerful species with a large military. If they decided to attack, even the civilian ships protecting him wouldn't matter. Jiwoo saw her father's worried expression. They're not going to attack us, are they? I mean, this is just politics, right? I hope so. But we need to be prepared for anything. That night, Taeyang barely slept. He spent hours reviewing the station's defense systems, looking for ways to strengthen them. The weapons were old and weak, designed to fend off pirates, not military ships. If a real attack came, they wouldn't last long. Jiwoo worked on a different problem. She was copying all the vault data to hidden servers across the galaxy. If something happened to them or the station, the information would still exist. The technology couldn't be suppressed again. On the fourth day, the situation escalated further. 3 more military fleets arrived, not just from Earth but from other major human colonies. They all demanded access to the vault. Some claimed they were there to protect it. Others were more honest about wanting control. The civilian ships held their position, but Taeyang could see they were nervous. Some had families aboard. They weren't soldiers. They were ordinary people who believed in a cause, but no one wanted to die for it. Commander Byung-ho sent another message. Last chance, Taeyang. Surrender control of the station peacefully. We'll guarantee your safety and your daughter's safety. But if you continue this resistance, people will get hurt. Is that what you want? Taeyang thought about this carefully. Was his stand worth people dying? Maybe he should just give up the station. The data was already public. The secret was out. What did it matter who controlled the physical vault? But Jiwoo had a different perspective. If we give in now, they'll just seal it all away again. They'll claim the data was fake or exaggerated. In a few years, they'll convince people none of this mattered. But if we hold the station, if we keep it as a symbol, then the truth stays alive. She was right. This wasn't just about the technology anymore. It was about what kind of future humanity wanted. One controlled by governments and corporations? Or one where ordinary people had a voice? Before Taeyang could respond to the commander, new ships appeared on the sensors. These weren't human ships at all. They were alien vessels, and they were big. Military cruisers from 3 different species, including the Velkari. The alien ships took up positions around the entire area. They didn't threaten anyone directly, but the message was clear. They were watching. They were ready to intervene if necessary. On the 5th day, an unexpected ally emerged. A group of alien ships from a species called the Tinari took positions alongside the civilian defenders. The Tinari were a peaceful species, known for valuing knowledge and truth above power. Their ambassador sent a public message that was broadcast across the galaxy. We, Tinari, stand with Station Harmony 7. The humans have the right to their own history and technology. We were wrong to support the suppression of this truth. It's time for honesty in galactic relations. This was huge. An alien species publicly supporting human independence? It changed the whole dynamic. Other moderate aliens began questioning their own government's positions. Why should humans be restricted when other species had the same technologies? But the hardline aliens like the Velkari only became angrier. They saw the Tinari support as treason, as threatening the stability that had kept the peace for centuries. The standoff continued for days. More ships arrived constantly. The area around Station Harmony 7 became the most crowded spot in space. Military vessels, civilian ships, corporate craft, and alien fleets all jockeyed for position. Taeyang and Jiwoo lived in constant stress, never knowing if the next hour would bring violence. They took turns sleeping and monitoring the sensors. The station groaned under the stress of so many ships nearby, their gravitational fields interfering with each other. On the 8th day, something changed. Taeyang was in the command center when Jiwoo ran in, her face excited. Dad, look at this message. It's from Earth's government. They're changing their position. The message was from the President of the United Earth Council. It was addressed to all humanity and broadcast publicly. My fellow citizens, the President began, after 3 months had passed since Taeyang opened the vault to the galaxy. The changes were both slower and faster than anyone expected. Station Harmony 7 was no longer a lonely, worthless piece of junk floating in space. Now it bustled with activity at all hours. Scientists from a dozen species worked in the vault, studying the ancient human technology. Engineers built prototypes based on the old designs. Students came to learn about the history that had been hidden from them. Taeyang and Jiwoo watched it all happen with a mixture of pride and exhaustion. Running the station had become a full-time job for both of them. They had help now, thankfully. Volunteers came from across the galaxy, people who believed in what the station represented. Captain Haewon and her crew stayed on permanently, helping with security and logistics. Several Tanari scientists set up research labs. Even a few former Stellar Mining Corporation employees showed up, apologizing for their earlier actions and offering their engineering skills. The station itself was being rebuilt and expanded. Donations poured in from supporters across the galaxy. New sections were added. The old failing systems were replaced with modern equipment. Jiwoo joked that in a few years you wouldn't recognize the place, but success brought new problems. Not everyone was happy about the open vault policy. Some governments tried to restrict their citizens from accessing the technology. Some corporations attempted to patent the old designs, claiming they'd improved them enough to deserve ownership. The Velkari and a few other species continued to protest, though they stopped threatening military action. There were also accidents. A colony on the edge of human space tried to build an FTL drive based on the vault designs. They made mistakes in the construction. The drive exploded, killing 3 people and damaging their station. Critics pointed to this incident as proof that the technology shouldn't be freely available. Taeyang felt terrible when he heard the news. He hadn't considered that people might die trying to use the technology. But Jiwoo helped him see it differently. People die learning any new technology, she said gently. When humans first flew airplanes, there were crashes. When we first went to space, there were accidents. You can't prevent all danger. You can only give people the information they need and trust them to be careful. She was wise beyond her years. Taeyang was proud of the person his daughter was becoming. The shy, uncertain girl who'd arrived at this station had grown into a confident young woman. She gave speeches to visiting groups now, explaining the history and importance of the vault. She'd become the public face of Station Harmony 7, and she was good at it. One morning they received an unexpected visitor. A small ship requested permission to dock, and when Taeyang checked the identification, he was surprised to see it was Director Ha Yun. She came alone, without guards or security. When she stepped off her ship, she looked different. Tired, older somehow. She wore simple clothes instead of the expensive business suits from before. "I'm surprised you allowed me to dock," she said when Taeyang met her. "Everyone is welcome here. That's the whole point." Ha Yun smiled sadly. "I no longer work for Stellar Mining. They fired me the day after you opened the vault. Said I failed to contain the situation. I'm sorry, don't be. It was the best thing that ever happened to me." She looked around the busy station. "I was wrong about many things. I thought keeping the secret would protect everyone, but all it did was give power to people who didn't deserve it. You showed me that. What will you do now?" Jiwoo asked, joining them. "I was hoping you might need help. I know station operations, security protocols, and how corporations think. That knowledge might be useful here." Taeyang and Jiwoo exchanged glances. They'd talked about this possibility before. Could they trust someone who'd tried to take the station from them? But people could change. Ha-Yun looked sincere, and they did need experienced help. "Welcome to Station Harmony 7, Taeyang said, extending his hand. Ha-Yun shook it, and for the first time since they'd met her, she smiled genuinely. News from across the galaxy continued to arrive daily. The impact of the vault's opening was spreading. On Earth and other major human worlds, protests and celebrations had given way to serious discussions about the future. Governments were negotiating new treaties with alien species, relationships based on honesty rather than old compromises. The jump gate system wasn't going away, at least not quickly. It was too established, too convenient. But now people had choices. Some independent colonies announced plans to build their own FTL ships. A few did so successfully. Space travel was becoming more diverse, less controlled by single entities. The aliens adjusted too. The moderate species like the Tanari pushed for more open technology sharing across the galaxy. Why should only some species have certain technologies? If humans could share their secrets, why couldn't everyone? This sparked a broader movement. Other species began revealing their own hidden technologies and historical secrets. The galaxy was entering an age of transparency, and while it was chaotic and sometimes scary, most people felt it was better than the old system of lies and control. The Velkari remained hostile for several months. But gradually, even they softened their position. Their scientists came to study the vault reluctantly at first. They realized that human FTL technology wasn't actually superior to their own, just different, and the designs were so old that no one could build them efficiently with modern knowledge. Most engineers were creating hybrid designs, combining old human creativity with modern alien refinements. This collaboration was unexpected and beautiful. Human and alien scientists working together, not because they were forced to, but because they wanted to learn from each other. 6 months after the vault opened, Jiwoo started her academy. It began small, just a few classrooms in the renovated sections of the station. She taught history, the real history of human space exploration. She also taught ethics and philosophy, helping students think about the responsibilities that came with powerful technology. Students came from everywhere. Young humans eager to learn their true heritage. Alien youth curious about the species that had shaken up the galaxy. Even some older people who felt their education had been incomplete. Taeyang was incredibly proud. His daughter had found her calling. She was a natural teacher, patient and inspiring. Students loved her classes and often stayed after to ask more questions. One of her students was a young Velkari named Keseth. At first, Keseth was hostile, believing humans were dangerous and arrogant. But over weeks of study, his attitude changed. He began to see humans not as threats but as people with their own struggles and achievements. On the last day of the term, Keseth approached Jiwoo with something surprising. "I want to apologize," he said in careful English. "I judged your species based on fear, not facts. What you and your father did here, opening this knowledge to everyone, it was brave. My people could learn from that courage." Jiwoo was touched. "Thank you, Keseth. Your people are brave too. It takes courage to change your mind when new information appears." After he left, Jiwoo told her father about the conversation. Taeyang felt a warmth in his chest. This was what they'd hoped for. Not just sharing technology, but building understanding between species. The station continued to grow. By the end of the first year, the population had swelled to over 500 permanent residents. Scientists, students, traders, and families all living together in an unusual but functioning community. Problems still arose regularly. Cultural misunderstandings between species, disputes over research priorities, occasional attempts by corporations or governments to assert control. But the community learned to handle these challenges together. Taeyang found himself becoming something he never expected, a leader. People came to him with problems, asked his advice, respected his opinions. It was strange for a retired soldier who just wanted to live quietly with his daughter, but he accepted the role because it was needed. He established rules for the station, simple ones. Respect everyone, share knowledge freely, no violence, no attempts to monopolize or control the technology. Anyone who broke these rules was asked to leave, regardless of how important or powerful they were. The rules worked because most people wanted them to work. The community that formed around Station Harmony 7 was made up of individuals who believed in the same basic values: openness, cooperation, and the free exchange of ideas. 1 year after opening the vault, they held a celebration. Ships came from across the galaxy to participate. There were speeches, demonstrations of new technologies, and cultural performances from dozens of species. During the main ceremony, Taeyang and Jiwoo stood before the crowd. Thousands of people watched in person and millions more through broadcasts. "A year ago," Taeyang began, "this station was considered worthless. People mocked my daughter and me for living here. They thought we were fools." The crowd laughed gently, remembering those days. But we discovered that this place held something priceless, not just technology, but truth. The truth about humanity's past. The truth about how fear and control had shaped our galaxy for centuries. He paused, looking at Jiwoo. She nodded encouragingly. Opening the vault was terrifying. We didn't know what would happen. We worried about starting wars, causing deaths, Destro.